up here and talking to you guys today. We've got about 20 minutes of fun stuff to share. But I got to do a quick shout out to our friend Trevor from Jebbit. He's the reason we came, and it's our first Media Post Summit. So it's been a really nice experience so far. So thanks for that. Okay, so let's do this here. So here's what we're going to talk to you a little bit about today. We want to share with you how we've been building our relationships with consumers over many, many years of General Mills history. We also want to talk a little bit about how our organization is set up, because as we're all transitioning to a more data-focused marketing effort, sometimes our structure needs to change, and we're going to share with you the evolution of our structure. And then we're also going to share with you a bit of a case study of how we are intelligently using data to target our consumers. So before we get started, here's a little video about General Mills.
Food is good in so many ways.
I think they're good.
Is that good?
Good boy.
It's so good to have you all here.
At General Mills, we're proud our family of food is a part of your family's good moments. And that for today's families, we stand for good in other important ways. We're standing for kids, for stronger schools, to help families in need, for greater equity, to build not just a more sustainable planet, but to help regenerate it. Because at General Mills, G stands for good.
So I'm sure most of you know General Mills and hopefully love General Mills, but I have a question for you. I'm curious if any of these products that I'm about to list are in your pantry right now. How about Cheerios? Yeah, got some Cheerios. Okay. How about Betty Crocker? Yeah. Yoplait? Great. Pillsbury? Nature Valley? Old El Paso? And how about one of these favorites, Haagen-Dazs? Yeah, those are some of our largest brands at General Mills. And each of those generate over $1 billion in annual sales. But there's one more that just recently made the list, and I think it's one of Erika's. Erika's got a special place for this one in her heart, and that is Totino's.
Yeah.
Yeah. They joined the $1 billion club just last month, so that's pretty exciting for us.
My father-in-law was the food chemist on Totino's pizza rolls, so it's pretty amazing.
So at General Mills, we make food the world loves. And that's really important to us, but also what's important to us is making sure that we're making food that the consumer is really interested in at the moment. And some of these brands are very old, but they've endured. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story of one of our favorite brands, and a brand that I actually currently work on. We all know who this is. This is Betty Crocker, and this is one of the brands that I lead over at General Mills. So Betty Crocker was born in 1921 when an ad for gold medal flour was placed in the Saturday Evening Post. The ad featured a puzzle of a quaint Main Street scene, and contestants were encouraged to complete the puzzle and send it in for a prize of a pincushion in the shape of a sack of gold medal flour. The response was overwhelming. Around 30,000 completed puzzles flooded the Washburn Crosby offices. Many of the completed puzzles were accompanied by letters filled with baking questions and concerns, something the Washburn Crosby Company hadn't anticipated. Previously, the company's small advertising department had dealt with customer mail and questions. The department manager, Samuel Gale, and his all-male staff would consult the women of the gold medal home service staff with customers' questions around baking and cooking. Gale never felt completely comfortable signing his name to this advice, as he suspected that women would rather hear from other women who knew their way around the kitchen. Remember, this is 1921. The pile of questions pouring in from the puzzle contest reinforced the need for a female cooking authority, somebody who could gracefully answer any kitchen question that customers might have. The department's answers to this issue was to invent a female chief of correspondence, a fictitious woman they named Betty Crocker. So 2 things in this. We've been listening to our consumers and what our consumers needs for a long, long time. Since 1921, we've been inventing things to make sure that we're servicing their needs. But second, we had 30,000 engaged consumers that would have given us first-party data back then in 1921 had we had the resources to use it. Okay, so Betty Crocker's not only endured, she has grown with the times to continue meeting the needs of consumers. So you or your grandparents or your parents, they may know of our large-scale publishing arm, which puts out a host of Betty Crocker cookbooks. But through the magic of technology, we are now able to offer consumers something a little bit different, something more personalized recipes and content designed just for them, while learning about their likes and dislikes to guide our future content decisions. So today, I invite you all, if you have your cell phone attached to you, to check out bettycrocker.com and check out our newest feature. It's in kind of like a beta phase, but you can have it check it out. It's called Recipes Just For You. You'll find across the top navigation bar, there is a call out for Recipes Just For You, where you can go online, complete a short quiz, and then you can start experiencing the personalized experience our consumers will receive when they visit our site and our email. Okay, so how did we do it in the 1900s? Well, that's when I started with General Mills. In my bio, I referenced that my first job at General Mills back in 1999 was choosing the toy in the cereal box. And over 20 plus years, I have also put out a number of promotions that generated first-party data. And I didn't even know I was doing it. So I could easily have engaged with 300,000 plus consumers with one promotion, and I ran 4 of them a year consistently for those 20 years. I was sitting on a gold mine of information about our consumers, about people who actually cared about my brands and wanted to engage with us. But for all those years, I didn't have the tools or technology to do anything with it. Fast forward 20 years, and today data is everywhere. We all know it. We've been talking about it for the last, 2 days. Every site we visit, every action we take, we share a piece of ourselves. And as marketers trying to reach today's consumers, we have to put all these pieces together to see the full picture, just like that puzzle that we asked our consumers to do back in 1921. And we are doing this so that we can give our consumers what they want. And consumers expect brands to deliver on their expectations. So in order to do that, we needed to act at the most foundational level. We needed to rethink our structure, invest in our digital data and technology capabilities while employing agile methodology to drive results. Now, I'll do a little off-script storytelling. So, up until the last 9 months ago or so, all of our digital platforms existed within the brand. They were an extension of the brand, and they weren't considered a source of first-party data. We've since centralized all of that into one department, which we are born out of, that is now responsible for driving General Mills' first-party data acquisition. So that was the beginning of our team. We are called Brand Experience Platforms, and we build platforms that create relationships benefiting all of our brands with data. And we do this while staying true to our goals of solving consumers' problems and delivering joy. So we have a really fun case study to share with you, and Erika's going to do that, about how we're intelligently building these relationships with, specifically in this case study, our Pillsbury families.
All right. You want this one?
Do that one, sure. Do you want your own clicker?
All right. I guess
get to talk about Pillsbury. So you've heard a little bit about Betty Crocker. Now we're going to talk about Pillsbury. So Pillsbury was founded in 1869. That was 153 years ago. It's a long time to build brand awareness. You probably have had crescents around the dinner table at one point, maybe in the last year. So many families are enjoying our product on the daily. The Doughboy entered the scene in 1965, further building that brand awareness. And in case you didn't know, his name is Poppin' Fresh, which I am wearing the Poppin' Fresh shirt today. But how do you build individual relationships with consumers who love your brand? You can't expect to build one-to-one relationships with every brand in your cart. The average consumer has over 30 products in their cart. Can you imagine getting an email from your bread? What? No, it doesn't make sense. But some of you might be saying, well, it's so easy for you because you have so much brand awareness. I'm sure people are just coming in droves to sign up for your email program. And what's true about that is we do have a lot of brand love, and we do have a lot of people coming to our website. Millions and millions of people are coming to Pillsbury.com on an annual basis. However, we only have a relationship with a fraction of those people. In fact, 75% of our site traffic is unknown to Pillsbury. So part of building a one-to-one relationship is exactly that. It's a relationship. You got to kind of understand these people in order to have relevant messaging. Because if I don't know you, I'm not going to build that relationship. Understanding these consumers and who they are and what their needs are would help us drive increased relevance of content at a segment or even an individual level. So how do you build a relationship with mom? And how do you build a relationship with grandma? So what we did is we set out to understand these people. And one of the reasons why was the brand was like, hey, go out and get all of the millennials. All of them. Just like all of you. You're all trying to get millennials and Gen Z, I guess. But our brand team was saying, we need more millennials. Go find them. Make our acquisition content all about millennials. And so that's what the brand wanted. And when I entered the scene about a year and a half ago, I'm a millennial mom, and I had never been to Pillsbury.com, so I wasn't so sure about all of the millions of people that we have subscribed if they're actually millennial moms. But yet, we're creating all of this content that's like, hey, build this for your family, have these really easy weeknight meals for your family. And I was like, well, okay, let's see. Let's see if they truly are millennials. So what we did was we partnered with a company called Zeta Global, and they are not here today. This is not a sales pitch. I just wanted to inform you of how we got to these insights. What they do is they have a proprietary data platform, and they pixeled our site. So of that 75% of site traffic that was coming to our site, we were able to find out who these people were. And it was kind of shocking, but at the same time, it was kind of exciting. Because this is a Pillsbury subscriber. It's grandma. It's not millennial moms. And so how this is a big opportunity for us is to say, hey, okay, 75% of our site traffic are grandmas. When we're going after and trying to acquire millennials, we need to make sure that our acquisition messaging and what we're delivering for those millennial moms is on par, because it's all about that value exchange. We can't afford to give out a ton of coupons all the time, so we have to think about things differently. We also can't lose our grandmas. These are our loyalists. These are the people who are constantly buying our products. And so what we have to do then is we have to have this technology that says, okay, first off, at registration, we're going to collect all this data about you. Then we're going to use that data. So we invested in a new tech platform, which is going to allow us to be more relevant. Because we have the power to do it all. We can create one email. And based on the data attributes that we're collecting about you, we can have a mom image perhaps, and then a grandma image at the same time. And at the same time, we can use that recipes just for you. It also launched on Pillsbury.com, so go out and check it out. We can also have those showing up and be super relevant to what you were looking for on the site. Were you looking for maybe just a birthday cake? Maybe we shouldn't be sending you one email a day if you're just looking for birthday cake recipes. So we have a ton of data. We now know a little bit more about our consumers, and that's going to help us drive relevancy and ultimately conversion. So some of the things that we've learned just in the past year of this new department that we have is measurement is critical. So who we're acquiring, first, who do we need to acquire? Who do we have? Who do we need to acquire? And how should that content vary to ensure relevancy? And then how are they engaging with us then? Do we send them an email a day? Do we send them an email a week? What do they want from us? And let's deliver that. And then we can start to understand sort of if they're coming in through Facebook or if they're coming in through TikTok, measuring that acquisition source through engagement to ultimately understanding what they're actually purchasing, to then go back and say, you know what, let's put more dollars into TikTok instead. Identity resolution and data enrichment is really key to understanding your base. So you gotta know your consumer. And you can't do it in a creepy way. So there are companies that can help you with that, and then also just go out and collect it yourself. Zero-party data. If you collect it, you better use it though, pro tip. And ultimately, CPG can build out direct-to-consumer relationships like never before because of the data that we have available to us. It's less about submitting those puzzles and not really knowing what to do with it. Now, consumers want to tell us everything. They want to tell us they're a grandma. They need help in the kitchen for their grandkids. Or they may be a mom who needs help with those weeknight dinners. And we're here to collect it and use it and solve problems and deliver joy for our consumers. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Anyone have a question? Well, of course, I always do. You talk about when you're collecting this data that you're making sure you use it, and I think that's something that a lot of CPG brands in the past had, as you were even saying. You had all this data, but then it was never being used. But how are you making sure it's being, you don't want to be the creepy one if someone's looking for just to make a cake, and then versus, okay, this is someone who's going to be a regular who wants, to plan their meal each night. How do you determine all of that with so much data, and for you guys, so many brands? So really, how do you make sense of it all?
Yeah, I think it's not on. Is it on? Okay, here we go. I think it's about starting in a very simple way. So not collecting too much because we don't have the content to deliver on it. So right away, right now, what we've started collecting is who do you cook for? Understanding, is it your partner? Is it your kids? Is it your entire family? And then starting to build that content in a smart way while not making it too complex. We wouldn't be able to keep track of it in all of those complexities. Where we can use a ton of data is through this recipes just for you. So if you come in and you say, you know what, I don't like ground beef. That eliminates a lot of recipes on our site, by the way. But if you don't like ground beef, we can then personalize that module in the email to not show ground beef recipes because of all the metadata that's behind the recipe. We have the ability to connect that still in a simple way.
Yeah, we're trying to be as transparent as possible with our consumers so that they understand how we're going to use our data or how we're going to use their data. But the other thing too, and this is kind of a guiding principle for us across the globe, is before we collect the data, we need to know what we're going to do with it. So you have to have your activation plan before you have your collection plan. And then you can be really thoughtful about the points of data that you're collecting, and we can live and breathe our promise to our consumers, because we don't want to be creepy.
You also talked about, as opposed to when someone does give you that data, because you were saying, oh, everyone, we have tons of data, and I think some would maybe disagree that they're not necessarily getting all that, but what you're offering a value exchange. I mean, you have to be doing that, and as you said, you have to be, then once if your consumer takes the time to fill out whatever that information is, you have to follow up on that. So what is the process first? Okay, what can we offer value-wise, and then figuring out what to do with it, or is that all decided and determined before we even put it out there?
I think it's definitely decided before we put it out there. It starts with what either the business, the corporation, or the individual brand is trying to accomplish, and establishing that. What's interesting is we're very protective of our consumers' data, and we don't share it even amongst our own brands. So that's kind of unique. So if it's personally identifiable and you've signed up for a newsletter, let's say you've signed up for BettyCrocker.com, we don't automatically assume that you're going to want to start receiving Pillsbury.com, and we're not going to start, shoving that down your throats. And the same can be said across all of our brands, but we do have the ability to look at the data that we're collecting without the personally identifiable component and leverage those insights to help us build better digital properties or brands, et cetera. Because one other brand that we didn't even mention up here was our Blue Buffalo brand, because not only do we make food the world loves, including food dogs and cats love, right? So there's a lot of really unique information that Blue Buffalo is collecting through their Blue Buddies app, but that isn't necessarily something, like, we're not leveraging that at this particular point in time to drive sales across Pillsbury, Betty Crocker. We're pretty conservative that way.
Got it. Anyone else? All right. Well, you guys, thank you. Tiffany, Erika. Am I still on?
Thank you.
Awesome.